Hello class. In this video we're going to be talking about our goal, which is being able to say that I can find sums and differences of integers. Now please be aware that when you're taking notes on this video, copy anything that's written down and copy anything that I write down myself. Now I'll give you an example of things that you do have to write down and don't have to write down as we go on through this video, so please pay attention to that. And again, if there's anything written down and I don't explicitly say to not write it down, make sure that it gets copied in your notebook. Now, before we go into any specifics of sums and differences, we first have to talk about a couple of the basics. And one of those things we have to talk about are what are integers. So make sure that you do copy this down. Integers include whole numbers that are positive, negative, and they also include 0. So for example, 5 is an integer because it's a whole number and it's positive. Negative 7 is an integer because it's a whole number and it's negative. And we're also going to include 0. Now this includes all positive numbers, all negative numbers that are whole, and 0. Some examples of things that are not integers are 1/2, negative 1/3, because these are fractions. They also don't include things like 0.75 or negative 0.03 because these are decimals and fractions. Again, these are not going to be integers. So we're mainly going to be focusing on positive and negative whole numbers and 0. Now, when we talk about sums and differences, we know that sums are adding and differences are subtracting. And when you think of adding and subtracting integers, you have to remember that when you're adding, that means combining or putting things together. And when we're talking about differences or subtracting, we're taking away or removing something. So again, integers include all whole numbers on the number line, and we've used number lines quite a bit in this class. And as you'll notice, number lines include all positive numbers, and they increase as you go to the right, and negative numbers increase negatively as you go to the left. So here we have 0, negative 5, negative 10, and remember that these arrows mean this goes on forever and ever and ever. So even though we can't explicitly see it here, negative 100 is included on this, negative 1,000,000 would be included on this, and any negative numbers that are larger than that would be over here, farther down this way. Just like we would have 5, 10, 15, 20, and any positive numbers that are larger than 10 would be further down this way on the number line. So let's go through a couple of examples. So here we have 4 plus negative 2. Now in this video, I'm mainly going to focus on showing you how to add and subtract integers using the integer chips. As you know, integer chips are yellow if they are positive, and if they are negative, they are purple. So we're going to show this example. We're going to need 4 positive integer chips because we have a positive 4. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And make sure that you're copying these down in your notes as well. So you might want to draw a little picture, maybe a little plus sign to represent these. And we have negative 2. So we're going to have 2 purple chips down here. Now one thing that you have to keep in mind is that when we have a positive and a negative, these actually cancel one another out. It's kind of like saying 1 minus 1. So these 2 will cancel out. This creates 0. These 2 will cancel out. This creates 0. And you'll see all that we're left with is 2 positive yellow integer chips. So we can say that 4 plus a negative 2 is positive 2. In this example, we have negative 6 plus positive 3. So we're going to need 6 of these purple chips. And we'll need 3 of these yellow chips. Now in this example, we're going to see quickly that we're going to have a negative result because, again, purple and yellow will cancel one another out. They'll just be 0. And we are left with 3 negative purple integer chips. So these negative 6 plus positive 3 is going to be negative 3. Now in this example, you see we're adding 2 negative numbers. Now when we add 2 positive numbers, for example, if we had this same problem, 2 plus 3, that would just be simple addition, just like we've been doing much of our school career, which would just be 5. Now in this example, we have negative 2 plus negative 3. And when you combine these together, these are actually going to become more negative. We have the 2 purple chips plus the 3 purple chips, so this is going to equal negative 5 purple chips, or just an integer of negative 5. Now, in this example, you'll see we have subtraction. Now, subtraction's a little bit difficult to work with when you have integer chips if you don't know a simple trick. Now, this specific trick that we're going to be talking about before we even try this problem is equivalent expressions. Now, in equivalent expressions, all that means is it's an expression that may be written differently, but it has the same solution. So again, an expression that may be written differently, but it has the same solution. So an adding problem and a subtracting problem with the same numbers, with the same, maybe not the same positive and negative numbers, but we are going to get the same answer. Now there are two steps to writing an equivalent expression. The first of which is changing the operation to its opposite. So I'm going to use this example first. We're going to have negative 6 minus 4, just like we did before. So if I'm going to rewrite this, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite my first number. I'm going to keep that the same. That's not what I'm going to be changing here. But I am going to change the operation to its opposite. So instead of subtracting, we're going to be adding. Now the second step to this, to make sure that they do stay equivalent, is we're going to be changing the sign of the second integer to its opposite as well. So make sure that you get all of this information down, including the examples. So here, this is a positive 4 right here. If we single these out, we have negative 6 minus positive 4. And to make sure we don't completely change the problem, because I changed this to subtraction, I'm now going to change this to addition. Because we have a positive 4, I'm going to change this to a negative 4. So in this example, just like we had prior here, I'm going to change this again to negative 6 plus negative 4. And you can see really quickly, instead of just subtracting like we do by taking away, we're actually going to be adding some integers together. So now we're going to ignore this for a second. So we're going to separate these. And we're going to focus on this over here. Negative 6 plus negative 4, which means I'm going to add 4 more of these integer chips. Now when I add these together, I'm going to see that I have negative 10. So a negative plus a negative gives me a larger negative. Now in this next example, we're going to practice a little bit how to rewrite these integers, this number sentence I should say, as an equivalent expression. So we're going to be changing our subtraction problem into an addition problem. Now this one right here is pretty simple. This is just a normal 6 minus 5. We know that's going to be 1. And I can even show this over here. I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And remember, if you remember back to one of our earlier slides, we said subtracting was kind of like removing something. So in this example, we have 6 to begin with. We're subtracting 5. So really we're just going to be deleting 5 of these, and we just end up with 1 yellow integer chip. Now instead, when we change an expression to an equivalent addition problem, we would have positive 6. Remember, we don't change that first integer. We keep that the same. We're changing our subtraction to addition, and we change our positive 5 into a negative 5. Now, we're going to have a very similar solution, but kind of a different process with the integer chips. We're still going to have 6 of these yellow integer chips. And instead of taking away 5, we're just going to cancel out 5 of these yellows by putting 5 negatives. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And if you remember earlier, we know that these cancel out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, till we're only left with 1 positive integer chip. So positive 6 plus negative 5, positive 6 plus negative 5 is just going to give me 1. Now, in this example, we have kind of a weird situation because we can see that we have minus a negative. Now, normally this would be very confusing, but we know we can use equivalent expressions to make this easier on ourselves. So I'm not going to use integer chips here. I'm just going to show you a quick trick to help you solve this problem a little bit quicker. So we have 13 minus negative 4, and we're going to follow our equivalent expressions rules. We're going to keep our first integer. We're going to change our subtraction to addition, And our negative 4, we're going to turn that into a positive 4. So positive 4. And here we can see this is just a simple problem like we've solved all along. 13 plus 4 is going to be 17. On the assessment, I noticed a lot of you guys had trouble with this. And you should just remember, whenever you see a subtraction problem with negatives and positives, it's just easier to change it to an equivalent addition problem. Again, we change subtraction to addition, and this negative 4 into a positive 4, which will give us positive 17. Now, in our next example, I'll let you try this on your own. If you want, you can pause the video, and I'm going to give you about 10 seconds to try to solve this problem on your own. So we have negative 19 minus 20. We want to change that into an equivalent addition expression that will help us solve this a little bit easier. So again, I'm going to give you about 10 seconds to solve this on your own. If you would like, feel free to pause the video. Now that you've had some time to try this problem on your own, let's do it together. So we have negative 19. We're going to keep this the same. Instead of subtraction, we're going to use addition. And instead of positive 20, because this is a positive 20, we're going to change this to a negative 20. And you're going to see really quickly, this is just adding two negatives together. Negative 19 plus negative 20 is negative 39. So when you add two negatives together, again, they become a very large negative. We're going to go through another example here. So again, we have 18 minus negative 2. So if you'd like, you can pause the video and try this on your own. I'll give you about 10 seconds to try this. You're going to turn this into an equivalent addition expression. All right, now that you've had some time to try this on your own, I hope you've paused the video to give yourself some time. We're going to do this together. So I'm going to turn this into an equivalent addition problem. We have 18. Instead of subtraction, we use addition. Instead of a negative, we turn this into a positive. So this is negative 2. Instead of negative, it's going to be positive 2. So 18 plus positive 2 is going to give me positive 20. Now, we can have more than one integer being added or subtracted in a single expression. And again, even though you have multiple integers, you can always change any subtraction to addition to help make this a little bit easier. So I'm going to go through this example relatively quickly, and I'm going to give you a couple examples you can try on your own and check your work once you unpause the video to see if you've done this correctly. So here we have negative 6 plus negative 3 minus 6. And right here I have an addition problem, so I'm not going to change anything here, but I do want to change this pesky negative that I have here. So I'm going to have negative 6 plus negative 3. Remember, I'm not going to change this because it's already addition. It's already what I want it to be. But I'm going to change this part from subtraction onto addition. So instead of subtracting, I'm going to add. Remember, we have a positive 6 over here, so I'm going to change this to a negative 6. And now I can solve this problem from left to right. Negative 6 plus negative 3 is going to give me negative 9. I'm going to drop the rest of my problem, plus negative 6. Negative 9 plus negative 6 is going to give me negative 15. Now here we have a couple more subtraction problems that we need to take care of, so I'm going to give you guys about 10 seconds to pause the video and try this on your own. And once you've tried this on your own, you're going to turn this into an equivalent addition problem and see how successful you are. So pause the video and try this problem on your own. I'll give you about 10 seconds. Now that you've had some time to try this on your own, let's do it together to see if our work is correct. So we have positive 12 plus negative 4 minus negative 10. So I don't want to change this addition. This is just where I want it to be. And I'm not going to change this negative because I haven't changed the addition to subtraction or subtraction to addition. Now I have minus and negative, so I want to take care of that. Now instead of subtraction, I'm going to change this to addition. Instead of a negative, I'm going to change this into a positive 10. So we have 12 plus negative 4 plus positive 10. So right here, I have 12 plus negative 4, just like 12 minus 4, which is going to give me positive 8. I'm going to add positive 10, and we know that 10 plus 8 is just going to give me positive 18. Here we have a lot of subtraction. We have it a couple times, so I'm going to let you try this on your own. And again, you can try this, you can check your work once I give you your 10 seconds to pause this and try it on your own. All right, now that you've had some time to practice this on your own, let's check our work together. So here I have negative 9 minus negative 8 minus 3. So I actually have multiple areas where I need to change my subtraction to addition. So I'm going to keep my first integer. I'm never going to change that one. Now I have minus negative 8. So I'm going to change this into plus positive 8. We're changing subtraction to addition, negative to positive. And again, here I have subtraction. So I'm going to change my subtraction symbol to addition. And my positive 3 to a negative 3. So now I can see that I have negative 9 plus 8. When I combine these together, I'm going to have negative 1 plus negative 3. Now I'm combining two negatives, so they're going to become more negative. Negative 1 plus negative 3, just like if I would have had one purple chip and 3 more purple chips, this would have been negative 4. Now, I hope you've reached your goal of being able to say that you can find sums and differences of integers. If you have any more questions or would like a little bit more help on the reassessment opportunity, please feel free to send me an email. And again, happy studying.